How's it going, PPL fans? My name is DDubble, but you could just call me Dell. And today we are bringing you PPL Flare Week 1. Unfortunately, as you could probably tell by the lack of my beautiful face on the screen and the stuffedness of my nose still, the recording of this video, we were sick, which is very unfortunate because I actually think this would have been a really great battle to start the season off. We get to take on Tone, who coached the Miami Palafins. Really, really awesome dude. Tone is objectively one of the better PU players I actually know in the Smogon scene, and he's been playing draft. He plays really well. Dude's just very smart. So I was super looking forward to this being my week 1 battle, and then I came down, like I said, if you've been keeping up with the channel, with pretty bad sickness, unfortunately. But we're back. I'm feeling a lot better now, so happy to be going with this. As you guys can see, Glalie, Zoroark Hisui, Clefable, we are Torn. We have our Mirror Herb Tauros, because I love bringing that into Annihilape, and then AV, Gloking. As you can see, we're actually Ability Shield on Clefable. Now, this is because Manaphy on Tone's side of the field actually gets this really cool move. Well, 2 really cool moves, actually. One is called Take Heart, and Take Heart gives you a special attack bonus as well as a SPDF bonus and removes any statuses to you. So if I T-Wave him, if I Toxic him, anything like that, you can click Take Heart. He gets a Calm Mind boost and no longer status, which is really cool. The benefit of Clefable, though, is I am unaware. However, this brings us to our next move that Manaphy gets, which is called Skill Swap. So he can Skill Swap away my my unaware. So we brought Ability Shield, which makes it so that he can't do that, which I was super excited to use. And as you can see, we lead Glalie into the Cleavor. Now, this is a really awesome Glalie set. I actually really like Glalie a lot as a Terra user. I know I was getting clowned on a little bit in the draft stream for it, but Glalie as a low tier Terra user, very, very useful because of spikes, and I mean base 80s across the board is super nice, Earthquake, and then spammable Ice Shards, really nice here. So we lead Glalie. I do believe we get spikes up because spikes damage on the rest of his team is super useful. It's something I can really utilize on a lot of the stuff in the back on Tone's team, because we do need some chip allowing for us to have Tauros do a lot more work in this game. And the goal with this was to, once again, try to get that Tauros sweep. There are some factors that can limit that, obviously, like Vacuum Wave Gardevoir and things like that. As we see, the Cleavor outspeeds us, which is to be expected, as we were more of a SPDF Glalie to begin with here. Kind of just a sponge a hit if we did ever need to switch in against some of Tone's special attackers, which, you know, mind you, not overly potent special attackers on Tone's team, but good enough to where I needed to, you know, play smart. Like Manaphy being the main one, but Gardevoir also kind of a pain in the rump for me. So we make our, you know, little decision here of staying in, as Tone takes his sweet time trying to decide what he's going to go into here. He could go into the Tinglu potentially, you know, try to proc an ice move, but he does go hard guard. Now, guard is going to trace our inner focus, which makes it so we can't get flinched. But this is good. I do get to see at least kind of some damage. In this situation, Gardevoir is a little annoying because, you know, the option of him being like a spec set or a choice scarf set, you know, it's hard to tell often with Gardevoirs because timid specs and modest scarf can look very similar in damage rolls. With that being said, though, we have a wonderful check in Galarian Slowking, who, you know, in these situations with an Assault Vest can't really be punished all too much. The hard part, though, is wondering if Gardevoir just hard calls that and goes for something like a Shadow Ball. So, as you can see, I'm bouncing back and forth, and I do end up landing on the decision of, you know what, let's just go hard into Slowking. We can take basically any hit, and if he does Shadow Ball, he Shadow Balls. It's just a good play on Tone's part. Tone fires off the Psyshock, which is really good damage into me. as we are Assault Vest, but we are full Spit F. Didn't want to run into a situation where I didn't have a check for Manaphy as well hanging out in the back. So we do kind of catch a body there, which is a little unfortunate, but, you know, what are we going to do? I mean, technically, it's not full Spit F. Like, we're AV with special defense investment to be a special defensive wall. I did sprinkle some defensive EVs in there so that I wasn't too hit KO'd by some things. Based on that damage, though, we can divulge the fact that this is modest specs. And that is scary because we don't really have a switch for that. The beauty of it, though, is we are not too hit KO'd, which was very, very important. Forces this switch, and now this is kind of an easy switch for Tone to make. No downside to this. He knows he can go into the Ape. We do see the Ape take spikes damage, so we know it's not boots, and we do fire off the Sludge Bomb. Rage Fist is now at 100, and this is very important to keep in mind that Rage Fist is only at 100. Because Rage Fist is at 100, depending on the Annihilape set and things like that, rolls are going to be very particular for our Tauros. This is where it gets a little tricky. I can click Psyshock, and I can fire off a decent hit into this thing, putting it into the range of something like Tauros immediately without having to worry about it. Rage Fist does come out, though. We do see that it's faster. It didn't bulk up or anything like that, which I thought it might, but good on Tone for just attacking what's in front of him. The correct play to make in that situation, for sure. And I don't... I at this point, I don't really have a better option outside of Tauros. Like, we could go into Torn. Torn's the safer play, but with what Tone has in the back, I want to start breaking through this team so that Tornadus can kind of start functioning. We do see the Defiant pop. Now, he is only +1, and that's something else to keep in mind here, that this Annihilape is now +1. Because of how Defiant works, he is +1. I am +2. At this moment is kind of where, you know, we separate the good from the bad. Now, we fire off a Flame Charge. Depending on his set, it will change the roll. So he moves up to 150 now. 150 +1 Rage Fist into Tauros. Can kill. Depending on the set, if it's a much more offensive Annihilape, it can kill. If it's a much more defensive Annihilape, it doesn't kill. Based on the damage, I saw a lot of HP investment. It really just came down to how much special investment he had and if he was adamant after all. So we do fire off a Flame Charge, does a ton of damage. So we can tell from that immediately that it's nothing. And he crits a Drain Punch. Now, I really, really appreciate Tone for actually sending me the spreads and everything like that. Super nice of him. I like to share mine after games as well. Tone's Drain Punch, for context at that point at +1, does 57 to 67.3%. He gets 20 to 23% back. As you can see, based on the Flame Charge damage, it would have been close for a roll on Flame Charge, but it was more in my favor at that point. To kill with another Flame Charge. So we could have Flame Charged a second time. We would have been in a great position, kill the Annihilape. Because of the crit, it changes the roll to 85.5 to 101. This is also a really cool turn here, just before I go back into the calcs. I go hard into Hisuian Zorak. I'm trying to bait Tone into clicking, you know, Shadow Punch or literally anything else at this point. Shadow Punch being kind of the beneficiary. He has to make a hard call on the fact that this Clefable is not a Clefable. Hindsight, I could have just went straight into Clefable and been a little bit safer, but Rage Fist also at that point could have really bugged me. So this is a hard 50-50 here, and Tone is actually going to end up getting this 50-50 right after a lot of deliberation on Tone's side. He does end up clicking Night Slash, which is a phenomenal play from Tone. Really, really, really just, you know, putting it out there. He's up, he's playing aggressively. Tone is really taking it to me in this early stage, especially after the crit. Getting back to that, however, 85.5 to 101 is the roll on the crit Drain Punch into my Tauros, which means Tone had a 12.5% chance of KOing me, which is super unfortunate. I really, like, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. We fire off a Shadow Ball. He gets the Defiant boost, so from that we now see that it was majorly specially defensive. Because of the crit on the Drain Punch, I couldn't even tell that it was specially defensive. I thought, okay, he's more of an offensive variant. We can go into Hisuian Zoroark and KO it. I was also wrong. It ends up being AV, which is just really good prep on my opponent's part. Tornadus could have been another option that we could have went into. I was very worried about missing a Bleak Windstorm, and I don't really want to give Tornadus up for free, especially if, you know, with everything going on. So at this point, we're down 3, and it looks really, really, really bad for me specifically. This Annihilape is running away with the game, and yeah, there's not a ton else that can really happen at this point for me to bring this back. I know at the time, I do believe the crit mattered. However, Tone sent me his stuff after, and he did have Vacuum Wave on the Choice Specs Gardevoir, plus Gardevoir's Trace. So he could have went into Guard, even if I did kill the Annihilape, intimidated me. It would have been a roll for me to kill with Flare Blitz, and it was me just barely living because I had just the tiniest, tip, just a little bit of Spadef, which did let me live a Vacuum Wave from the range. However, it was a roll for me to kill a Flare Blitz. So at the end of the day, the crit matters for me not killing Annihilape 2 Pokemon earlier. But Tone absolutely had counterplay available left in the back. And as you can see, with us U-turning out on the Ting-Lu now, Tone absolutely had counterplay set up in the back. So you can't chalk this game up to hacks at all. At the time, I think, you know, me being sick and things like that, I probably wasn't the happiest. In all honesty, I don't remember a whole lot because I was very hopped up on things that are helping me sleep and feel better. But yeah, Tone prepped and played extremely well here. I super like this Ting-Lu set. We go into our Glalie now trying to recoup any kind of losses for what happened. He clicks Payback, which is a really cool tech on Ting-Lu. Considering the fact that Ting-Lu is always going to go second, Payback being a base 100 move instead of being a base 50 move is really nice. The only time you're never really going to see Ting-Lu go second is in situations where you know, Trick Room is up or something even like super slow is following behind it. So, you know, I'm not too heartbroken about this. We do get up another layer of spikes. My goal is to just try to give as much help to everything in the back that I can. I know I can't kill the Tauros from this range. Or not the Tauros, the Ting-Lu from this range. So I'm not even going to try. I figure, you know what, get up another layer of spikes. Maybe we can force some things around in the back. Some chip damage. You know, maybe we have a chance with our Tornadus plus our Clefable here still going. I can get up a Calm Mind and maybe we get lucky. But as you're going to see, Tone just maintaining momentum the entire time here. Very meticulous breakdown of what I've brought into this game. And Tone was prepared for everything. Tone had everything ready on his side. The games like this, you really just tip your hat. You know, when you play a good player and something early game doesn't quite go your way, it really reveals how each teams are built. Where for me, it was a very all-in strategy on the Tauros. The stuff in the back was meant to kind of start to function after Tauros got through a lot of stuff. Because Tauros couldn't get through a lot of stuff, you now see the things in the back for me really struggling to get through a lot of Tone's bulkier Pokemon. Another thing I did want to bring up too, which was another alternative play for Tone, Manaphy, based on the set that Tone sent me, also potentially lived a close combat, so he absolutely could have went into Manaphy and just killed my Tauros, depending on the roll. We do get a kill this game at least, which is nice. You know, not being 6-0'd week 1 of a new league for you is always a benefit. You know, it goes a long way. But Tone, once again, heavy slam for Clefable, Payback. Just really, really good prep all around from Tone here. Showing why he is one of the better players, at least in the league, in my opinion. I think Tone is absolutely one of the better players in the league. You can see there, Gardevoir traces are unaware, so now this is kind of moot. I am going to try to fire off a Moonlight, just in case, you know, Tone makes a decision to click like Moonblast or something, and maybe we live it, but, you know, you're really just out of options at this point. You kind of just tip your hat, like I said, move on. GG's to Tone. Please go check him out. Tone actually is, you know, Tone not a ton of subscribers, but like really, really well known within the community as just a really awesome battler, a really nice person to talk to. You know, willing to help out if he has a chance every now and then. So, you know, big props to Tone there. You know, for just being, you know, a great guy, and you know, I'm happy. At least I got to play him. I really hope we get to run it back with Tone in the playoffs where I'm feeling a little bit better. We do miss Bleak Windstorm, so, like, I mean, at this point, maybe we should just run Hurricane always, because who cares? Damage is damage, and, you know, confusion a little bit better than a speed drop. But yeah, that's going to be GG's to Tone. I'm not going to stick around too much longer. You guys kind of get the gist of it. Unfortunately, there's no team builder, and there's no... you know, 3 stars and things like that. None of the extra semantics that I like to put on these videos because, you know, I have been sick and I'm just coming off it. So, but next week we're taking on Daria in the Minneapolis. I believe it's Meowscarada. So I'll catch you guys there. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Monday, everybody. Bye-bye.